Today on the pod, we are joined by Scott Swenson, mastermind behind some of the greatest haunts in the country. For over 30 years, Scott has been bringing stories to life as a producer, director, writer, and performer. His work in theme parks, consumer events, live theater, and television has given him a broad spectrum of experiences. After over 20 years working with SeaWorld Parks and Entertainment, Scott formed Scott Swenson Creative Development to provide entertainment and development consultation for clients around the world.
He scares the shit out of people and he's terrifying, but in a good way.
All right. Hey, Scott. Welcome to the Hive.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I love what you've done with the place.
Oh, no. I mean, here, we're not going to even get through this. I'm going to keep the introduction short because I think anybody watching this probably knows us both already.
Well, at least you. At least you. You're like, who's that guy? Who's the old guy sitting next to her? That's it.
Please. All right. Anyone that doesn't know, we are talking today with Scott Swenson, who's a brilliant creative director, an event producer, and Halloween mastermind.
Wow, I wish that all fit on a business card. That'd be really cool. I'd take that.
Well, I would say, I think you're actually the real Jack Skellington, the real Pumpkin King.
If only I could get that waistline. I don't know.
See, this is the thing. We're going to laugh through the whole thing.
Sorry, it's my fault. It's my fault.
All right, so we've known each other a long time.
Yes. So it's funny. We were talking about this morning. We've known each other over 20 years.
Yes.
We were 6 when we met.
Yes.
Well, you were 6.
Very, very
you
young.
were 6. I was 40. I don't know. But
Not even. 9.
Okay. I'll go with that. But yeah, we've known each other for a long time. Worked together on a lot of different projects. Both officially and unofficially.
Yes.
Occasionally it's we'll walk onto a project and go, we're here. Okay, go. That's great. I love that.
Kind of like our little reunion show this morning.
That's right.
So way back then, you were working on a radically new event called Halloween.
Yeah. It's 24 years since Halloween started. I know.
What?
I know. And normally I don't keep up with this stuff, but I just ran into some folks who are doing Halloween now who I hired when they were 18.
Me.
But yeah, 20. Yes. But it's, this is year 24.
Amazing.
And I was with it for the first 15 of those 24.
Holy cow.
And again, just a little history. It's time for a little Halloween history, kids. The interesting thing about Halloween is it was originally conceived to be a shoulder season, quote unquote, shoulder season event, because not everybody was doing Halloween events back then.
Right.
And so we needed something to bridge between the summer rush and then the winter holiday rush.
Right.
And so they took 3 of us from our regular jobs and locked us away. And we did research and development. We did all kinds of brainstorming and figuring out what would make money and what didn't. And we had originally set out that we were not going to do a Halloween event for the fall. That was our because we said there's too much competition. Universal Studios had already established themselves at the time.
That's right.
And then after we did research, we discovered nothing else generates revenue during the fall season other than Halloween. And
that's a good
as
point.
we've seen, it's no longer a shoulder season. It is now for not just Busch Gardens, but for pretty much everybody.
It is a season.
It is a season, and it is now the holiday season, which starts late August, mid-September, and runs all the way through the end of the year.
I mean, our fourth quarter is insane.
Yeah,
I know yours is too.
Trust me. Understood. Understood.
So was Halloween your first foray into Halloween events?
Events, yes. But I often say that the reason I'm so tied with Halloween is because I do it a lot, but the reason I can write for Halloween and the reason I can direct for Halloween is because as a kid, I was a huge chicken. I was terrified.
What?
I know. I was horrified. I was the one who ran around like Andrea.
I'm stuck.
I
have no idea.
Yeah, I was a big chicken. I was terrified at Haunted Mansion. Terrified me.
No
Terrified me. Those little rinky-dink that you go to the fairs and they have the dark rides. Haunted, terrified me as a child.
Those are terrible.
They absolutely horrified me. And I think it's because I know what it feels like to be afraid that makes it easier for me to write things that scare people. Because I know both sides of that.
That's
It's
insightful.
it's like I know I know how I know what it feels like to want to cry and run. So let's see, what can I do to elicit that in other people?
Okay, so you have like moved into like the
Oh, it's
master
therapy.
of-
Yeah, it's therapy. There's no question. But my very first haunted house was a friend wanted to do one in their basement.
Okay.
And I was, trying to be one of the cool kids. And so I decided, yeah, okay, I'll be involved. And I don't think anybody ever came to it. I think it was just us getting into.
It gives a home hunt to hold.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I was. But we got into full makeup. We did a full rehearsal. We opened up for anybody who wanted to come in, and 0 people showed up. And I think the biggest lesson I learned from that is don't use nail polish as blood on your face.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Are you serious?
Yeah, I wasn't a sharp kid. I don't know.
I'm right. Oh no.
Yeah. So, but that was my first real haunted attraction, and then it wasn't really until we started to do research for Busch Gardens for Hell of Scream that I came back to it, and thank goodness it happened because it's really blossomed into
oh my gosh
a majority of what I do. It's not everything that I do, but it's a majority.
All right. So since you moved on from Busch Gardens and now have your own creative studios, Scott Swenson Creative Development, how many different Halloween events or haunt events have you worked on?
Oh my gosh.
Can you even count them?
I honestly, so it's funny. I know that this year I have had a finger in at least 8 different Halloween events. That's just the 23 season.
Wow.
I've done haunts as far north as Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. I've done haunts in Indianapolis, in Texas, in Florida. I've done some corporate stuff for some theme parks, some stuff that never, or is still in development. Let me put it that way. Stuff I can't necessarily talk about. Didn't happen in the timeline it was supposed to. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
But is not dead yet.
Nice.
So, and then there is a strong possibility I'm working on a project that may open in Bogota, Colombia, coming up in the not too distant future.
Yay.
And we got somebody. That's good. Oh, you speak Spanish? So, but I think part of the reason that I can't really count, because it's been, Scott Swenson Creative Development has been around a little over, approaching 9 years. Which seems like I just left Busch yesterday. But it grew very fast. In fact, my very first client I got a week after I left Busch, and that was the Vault of Souls here in Tampa. So
thank you.
It was I'm thrilled.
Work together on that.
Yeah, we just might have. Well, no, and it's funny because that was kind of us coming back together because we worked together, and then we kind of got our separate ways. And when I got the gig for the Vault of Souls, they were saying, who knows how to market Halloween events? And I said, wait a minute, I know someone. And so we got on the phone and we chatted and reconnected, and the rest is history.
Still here.
I know.
I mean, in fact, we're even in the building.
The building. I know.
All right. So these are not all scary and gory, adult-oriented Halloween events. You charm children too.
I try. We try to do it. I'll tell you, it's interesting because when I first started, I wanted everything to be over the top and bloody and gory and terrifying and completely edgy and
awful.
But as I don't want to say matured because you've seen that I haven't matured at all. But as I've evolved, I've discovered the joy and the power of training the next generation of folks who are going to enjoy Halloween. I often say that I come from the golden era of Halloween when you could go out and trick or treat, and it was safe and it was fun, and there was a little bit of hell raising going on, but nothing too dangerous. Nothing too dangerous. Yeah, it involved toilet paper and shaving cream. That was about the extent of it. Not that I have any experience with that, of course. But I think what happened is that era, my generation, grew up, now has income that they can spend on either themselves or their families to try to capture some of that same Halloween magic.
Yeah.
And I think that's really neat. So in doing things like the Indianapolis Zoo, Zoo Tampa, very, very family friendly events. I did one season, I did Franklin Institute in Philadelphia, creating things that work not only with the core brand of the client, but also their core audience, and finding fun ways to as we say at Zoo Tampa, to startle the giggles out of me.
I love that.
Zoo Tampa.
That's my vibe.
There you go.
That's my vibe.
And
It's like, oh.
and my whole feeling there was, the Zoo Tampa is a unique client for me because what ended up happening is they tried to fill a void. They didn't want to be, or at least that's where they are now. They wanted to try to fill a void between being the trunk or treat that churches do, which is lovely and wonderful and fun, or the Hallow Screams, the Halloween Horror Nights, the Screamageddons, those kinds of things, which are completely on the other end of the spectrum.
Right.
They wanted to fill that teen tween.
That's what
market,
I recall.
Which is,
in fact, I remember talking a lot about those kids don't have an event for
that's
them.
right.
And they're too young to really fully enjoy the trick-or-treating anymore. They still will do it, but they want to do something that feels a little more grown up.
Right.
Yet they're not quite ready for the Hallow Screams or the Halloween Horror Nights.
Of course.
So.
And it's funny because it's because of you and Joe Cero and the rest of the team at the zoo that I got involved with that.
Yeah.
And I'm still involved with that actually.
Amazing.
So the team still keeps me around.
It's so close to my heart.
I know. It's a fun. It was, and this year was an especially fun event to do. Just simply because there were some challenges, and I love years. I know this sounds weird, but I love years where early in the season we go, we've got this huge challenge. What are we going to do? And it ends up turning out better than you ever anticipated.
It happens, doesn't it?
So I'm really excited. And I think Zoo Tampa is going to continue to be a great event throughout the season.
I love it. All right. I'm not going to ask you to disclose your favorite Halloween event. I am. All right. But I want you to tell us what your favorite element is, whether it's a prop or a gag or something that kind of gets them every time.
So I will tell you, I will be honest. My favorite Halloween event, I've never said this on an event. I've never said my favorite Halloween event is the next one I start working on.
Oh.
Wait, okay.
Yeah, way to dodge that. He does improv.
Well, and to be fair, that sounds like a dodge, and yes, it is. But it's also true. I'm always focusing forward, which is why I can't remember how many I've done, which is why when people start talking about the first 15 years of Hallow Scream, they'll say, remember XYZ Haunt and where we did such and such? Like, no, I don't remember it at all. So I have to turn out to the fanboys and girls and figure out, what the story is. But as far as gags go, there is nothing more impactful than the simple stuff. I love camouflage characters. I love people who blend into shrubbery and bushes because they work every single time, and they don't require huge technical aspects. They don't require a whole lot of, honestly, they don't require a whole lot of acting experience. It's just someone with great timing. And if you can just, because they just literally disappear in the camo suits or the ghillie suits. I also like the idea, and I've used it a couple times. I also really like the idea of putting cast members into the experience that look like guests, and then grabbing them out of line to create a victim. And I think the reason I like that is one of the haunts that I wrote years and years ago for SeaWorld San Antonio was called Prey, Prey.
Okay.
And it was all about a serial killer roaming through the scrub or the brush in Texas. And they literally carved in the center of the park. If you've never been to SeaWorld, Texas, it is gigantic. And there are huge areas that just simply aren't used. So they were able to carve out in this brush the pathway. They didn't have to build walls or anything. And this was the first year that they were coming out with their marketing saying, Hallow Scream is scary now. It's not just family friendly. It is scary. So be prepared. So we had 3 different performers that were snatched out of the guest experience, carried screaming into the darkness. And everybody loved it. They were like, oh, this is great. Until I get a phone call saying, Scott, they called 911 from inside the haunt. True story. They called 911 because someone had been abducted in the park, in the haunt. The police came out, the fire department came out. There were helicopters flying over the park. And I thought, I have lost my job forever. Until the following morning when SeaWorld San Antonio was nationwide on every network. And I think it was the marketing team that actually saved my life. Because they were like, you can't buy, and especially when you're trying.
That's publicity.
And when you're trying to say, this year we're scarier than ever, to have a guest, that's not me saying it. That's not their marketing director saying it. That is a guest saying it was so realistic. It was so terrifying. I had to call 911. So I will never give up my victim concept. I don't do them everywhere, but I think it's a fun thing to throw in every now and then.
I remember the first time we did a victim house in Tampa.
That was the one where the guy, it was later in the evening, and I was walking behind this guy who was there by himself, and the victim came in, and she walked up to him. She goes, "I'm so sorry. I've been separated from my group. Can I walk with you? I'm really scared." And he was like, "Yeah, my group's left me too." And so they're walking. She gets grabbed, pulled into the darkness, screaming and kicking, and he just freezes. And he turns around, and I was wearing a name tag. He looked at my name tag, and just kind of went, "What?" And I looked at him, and I went, "Yeah." I looked at him, and I went. He took off and ran through the rest of the hunt. It was hysterical. So that's one of my favorite gimmicks. And you'll notice that I don't like to rely too heavily on technical stuff. I think technical stuff is really fun, but technical stuff reinforces the storytelling. It reinforces the live performance if you can afford to do that.
Right.
I mean, obviously, live performance now is becoming more and more of a premium. Things are getting more and more difficult to cast. But you know, if you've ever taken a workshop from me before, you've heard me say, "Give me 2 good actors and a candle, and I can scare the crap out of you."
I absolutely believe that's true, because we just did that.
I was going to say.
All right. So as a marketing agency that also plans and promotes a few Halloween events, I'm curious about your perspective as a creative director, an entertainment creative director.
Yes.
How does marketing, branding in particular, impact our Halloween?
Well, I think that's part of the reason that you and I work so well together, because I'm serious. I mean, and all of Rumble Buzz, but I've just worked with you more directly for a longer period of time. I believe that the storytelling starts with the marketing. I believe that, the brand must be consistent from the moment they see their first teaser to the last wrap-up survey that gets sent to them, via MailChimp or whatever. I think that the marketing is integral. It's not separate from the experience. It is integral to the experience. And this is why, and not everybody believes this. I will be completely honest. Not everybody feels this way, but I strongly feel this way, because I think that, going back to the Howl Scream days, there was a time when I was involved that we would have a different icon for each year. And that's how people identified the years. It made it so that whether every element of the event changed or not, it had a different look, it had a different feel, it had a different vibe.
Felt new.
And it felt new. And we were able to, because the timelines for marketing development and entertainment development are not necessarily the same, we had to make certain that we were talking to each other early and figuring out how we can find a way to incorporate the marketing content into the experience itself.
Right.
And one of my favorite examples of that is, it goes back many years, goes back to the House of Vane.
I knew it.
You knew I was going to. This one, I would love to say, and I was so darn smart back then. No, I stumbled on this completely by accident, but it worked.
It worked.
House of Vane, for those of you who don't remember, House of Vane was an ad campaign for Howl-O-Scream that was all about vampire fashion models.
Yes.
And the commercial was incredible. It was edgy, it was hip, it was sharp. And basically it was a fashion show where everybody revealed themselves to be vampires at the end.
That's right.
So I said, I want to create this as we walk in. And we did literally a recreation of the commercial and put it on stage.
And it was super cool.
And people to this day, I had somebody at a convention earlier this year come up to me and they said, "Oh gosh, were you there when they did House of Vane?"
Right.
I was like, "Yep." Okay. He said, "It's because of that walk-in experience, that first entrance experience, that I got involved in immersive theater."
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So it was super cool. And again, it just, when marketing and creative content can work together, it makes both of our jobs easier and better. We can create a synergy that doesn't necessarily happen if we're working in silos.
I love that and could not agree more.
Again, that's why we work together.
I know, right? All right. Last professional question.
Okay. I mean, we're going to unprofessional questions in a moment.
No, I'm going to go personal. Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to go personal. You rather. That's
Bring it on.
If one of our partners wanted to launch a brand new Halloween event, say they're a smaller, mid-sized organization and they have a limited budget, what would your first bit of advice be?
My first bit of advice would be look at what is going on in your market and don't try to replicate it. Try to find what's not being done. Find, if you're in a market that has a haunted hayride and a church haunt, perhaps look at something that might be a haunted dining experience that is not targeting those two audiences. Find ways to overlap, if that makes any sense at all.
Absolutely.
So that you can build off of the synergy. Now, if you absolutely can't do that, if you discover everything's covered, then what I would do is say, take a look at your assets. Where are you trying to do this? So many of the haunts that I have been able to do over the last few years are based on the location. I mean, the Vault of Souls is 100% inspired by the location itself. Back when I started Undead in the Water, was on a ship here in Tampa. Completely defined everything. Dark, Fort Edmonton Park, I was involved with their very first year. They're an outdoor history museum. So I took the outdoor history of the city of Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and created chapters that tied into the scary and the spooky. So number one, see what's out there. Don't start in a vacuum. Your market already exists, even if you don't think it does. And if you do your research and you discover there is no one in a 75-mile radius that's doing anything Halloween, great. Do what you think is right.
Whatever feels good.
You can own it.
Yeah.
I would say if you do discover that, find out why.
Yeah.
Find out why, because there could be a lot of elements. It could be there is a very conservative group of people living in that area. It could be that the fire marshal rules are very strict. There's a lot of different reasons that may
things you don't think about when you're just putting ideas on the table.
Research. Yeah. Do that first before you even say, I'm going to do a haunted house, and then decide I'm going to do a haunted house that targets 17-year-olds, or I'm going to do a haunted house that targets 35-year-olds. Figure out what's not being addressed in your market. And I think that's something that you guys can help with too. You guys do a lot of that kind of base research.
Yeah.
And then once you've figured out, okay, here's where we can fit in this market. And then you figure out, here are our assets. Here's what we've got to play with. Then put together a realistic budget. And when you've put together a realistic budget and you're looking at your ROI, your return on investment, make sure that it's based on about 50% attendance and adjust your budget accordingly.
That is actually phenomenal advice
because
everyone thinks they're going to kill it the first year.
Oh yeah. They say, I can get 100 people through every 15 minutes.
That's right.
But you're not going to.
Right.
I'm just going to tell you that you're not going to.
Right. Marketing. People want to know how the experience works.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So, and then share all of that information with whoever's doing your creative for you. Because that will give them, if somebody gave me that kind of research and that kind of direction, it would make my job so much simpler.
Yeah. Agreed. All right. So now for the final question.
Okay.
Lightning round.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. What are you currently watching?
What am I currently watching? I am currently watching, oh crap, what's the name of it?
That's probably not the name of it.
The Time Wheel? Time Wheel I think it's on Netflix.
Netflix. Okay. All right. What are you reading?
What am I reading? There's a great book that I'm reading. It's called Your Brain on Art.
Ooh.
It's great. It's really sciencey. It's like, it shows how art helps develop new neural pathways. And it's a whole new branch of science called neuroarts.
I love it. All right. What's your favorite lunch spot? And it doesn't have to be in Tampa.
Favorite lunch spot? Oh, this is a hard one. Because I like to eat. Favorite lunch spot? I just, well, God, no, I'm going to go with this. I love Portillo's hot dogs.
Okay.
I'm from Chicago.
We'll talk about
yeah,
that.
I'm from Chicago.
Okay.
Take me to Portillo's. I will get a Polish sausage and a piece of if it's summer, a piece of their lemon cake. Life is good.
All right, right on. What's the next show on your calendar?
Next show on my calendar is tonight.
Which was kind of funny. I happen to know that.
Yeah, it's tonight. So why I take on extra things during the Halloween season, I don't really know.
I don't know either.
But the next show on my calendar is I am a recurring cast member or an ingoing, outcoming cast member of a fringe show called the Rocky Horror Patter Show at the Fringe Theater in Tampa. And it is a really twisted, warped, inappropriate fringe style show at the Fringe Theater. And I'll be doing that 5 select nights between now and October 31st. And then tomorrow, which is October 14th,
Yes.
I will be at an art show at the studio at 620 in St. Pete. Because when I do have time, I love to paint, and my stuff is all kind of the dark side of beauty. So those are the two most recent. No, the ones that are coming up quickest. The ones I'm still panicked about because they're not done yet.
Oh my God. All right, that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Been fun. Hope we do it again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Next time I'll bring honey because it's the hives.
Oh my. Who is your favorite person and why is it Andrea?
All right, thanks for watching the Halloween, guys.